At the peak of his career, Cenor Martin was the leader of FaZe Clan's pro Call of Duty team, pulling millions of views on his YouTube content and dating a famous model. But despite his extremely successful career and winning Call of Duty championships across multiple titles, Doug would become the biggest joke in all of the COD Pro community.
This is so embarrassing, Doug.
I don't have beef with you, Doug. You're just trash.
FaZe Censor. He has chosen Call of Duty over Yanet.
Doug, no!
It's actually pathetic.
It is absolute worthlessness.
But how did this happen? Well, to find out, we must go back to the start, where it all began. Douglas Martin, also known as FaZe Censor, grew up in Long Island, New York, and at just 13 years old, in early 2008, to have his first introduction to Call of Duty whilst at his sleepover around his friend's house. He'd jump on his friend's copy of COD 4, and well, his first game went exactly as you'd expect. Doug was terrible. However, despite his lack of skill, Doug quickly fell in love with the game and wouldn't rest until he became a top player. So for the next 8 months, he would sleep around his friend's house every single night, and they'd grind the game together until 4 AM. That was until August 2008, when for Doug's 14th birthday, his parents would gift him a PlayStation 3 and his own copy of COD 4, meaning he could now grind the game from the comfort of his own home, which Doug would do until November 2008, when Call of Duty World at War was released. And with almost a year of experience playing COD, Doug had now developed a high level of skill on the game, and just a few months after the release, he was now the #1 ranked player in the entire world. And with this achievement, Doug now believed he was the best player in the game. However, he discovered that was far from the truth, after his friend introduced him to a platform called Game Battles, where competitive teams could play against each other in private lobbies. So Doug would eagerly sign up to the platform, but in his first few games, his team got absolutely destroyed. But Doug loved the challenge, so throughout the year, he would search for better players to team with. And it worked. As just a few months later, his team was widely known as one of the best and highest ranked in all of World at War. Then in November 2009, the next Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, would be released. And during this game, Censor would continue to make a name for himself in the pro community. However, Doug was still yet to gain respect from the most elite level players in the world. After all, online matches could only get you so far. If you really wanted to prove your skill, you had to do so on the real stage, in person at an MLG LAN event. But luckily for Doug, after making a lot of noise in the competitive scene, he would get scouted by a player called Vengeance, and would go on to compete under the team Quantic Next Threat all throughout the season of Black Ops 1. And in the team's first 5 events together, they'd place 8th, 17th, 4th, and 7th, not even coming close to a win. But that was until the final and biggest event of the year, the MLG National Championship, with a prize pool of $140,000. And after a fairly underwhelming season, Censor and Next Threat came into the event as underdogs. However, they would completely shock everyone, storming through the winners bracket, beating the best teams in the game, seeing them make it to the grand finals where they would face Team Envy, and ultimately win the entire event, seeing Doug claiming his first championship and $50,000 for the team. In the same month, Call of Duty would release their brand new game, Modern Warfare 3, and it would drop to astronomical success, seeing record-breaking sales numbers. And with the player base growing at an insane rate, it surely would mean the same for the competitive side of things. However, for some reason, Modern Warfare 3 would actually be a step backwards for Call of Duty competitively, and other than Call of Duty XP, an event which took place before the game even released, the season would see very little prize money, and almost all of the LAN events would take place in Europe. So naturally, Modern Warfare 3 would see many pro players taking a break from the game, including Doug, who took a step back from competing to focus on his education and fitness. However, there was a small handful of the most dedicated players to the game who would refuse to give up on competitive Call of Duty and would continue to compete and or make content on YouTube. And let's just say the players who continued to grind throughout Modern Warfare 3 would be sweetly rewarded with the following release of Black Ops 2 in November 2012. This year, Call of Duty would put a huge amount of effort and resources into growing their pro scene, and the LAN events would see massive improvements in equipment, coverage, and prize money. And with Black Ops 2 being another huge commercial success, the player base was larger than ever. And just a couple months into Black Ops 2, Nadeshot, Scumpii, and the entirety of Optic Gaming were pulling millions of views on their videos and streams, all centered around pro-level Call of Duty gameplay. And it wasn't long before Doug heard about the new riches that had come to fruition for these pro players, who he'd been competing amongst just a year ago. And well, Doug wanted back in, and he was soon picked up by Envy. The team's first LAN event would come along in December 2012, where they'd have an impressive first performance together, placing 4th. However, despite the result, Doug was soon dropped by Envy, and in early 2013 would find himself playing on a new team, Thrust Nation. The next LAN event he would play was the MLG Winter Championship, with a chance to qualify for the upcoming Call of Duty Champs, which was going to be the event of the year, with an eye-watering prize pool of $1 million. However, Doug and Frust would perform atrociously, placing 31st, seeing them taking home 0 prize money and ultimately missing out on COD Champs, which would take place the following month. Doug was devastated to miss out on the event of the year and decided to step back from Call of Duty until the next release, but as every month went by, Doug would get more and more FOMO. Watching Champs, he would see many of his peers winning huge prize money in front of an adoring crowd with thousands watching online. And on top of this, COD creators were starting to make more money than ever on YouTube and Twitch, and Nadeshot even got a sponsorship from Red Bull. Doug couldn't take it anymore and set himself the goal of competing in and winning the next COD Champs. So with the release of COD Ghosts in November 2013, Doug was ready from day one to grind. And this year, he was not messing around, having just dropped out of university. It was crunch time. And straight away, Doug would join the team SB, and they'd perform well together, placing 8th in the first LAN event, 4th in the second, and 1st in the third and final event before COD Champs, which would come along on March the 30th, and was by far the biggest tournament of the year. And there was huge pressure on Doug's shoulders to perform well. After all, he was practically broke at the time, and he needed to bring home significant prize money if he was to justify another year out from college, playing as a full-time COD pro. And he'd do just that, with SB taking 4th place, and the team bringing home $100,000. He had now solidified himself as one of the best players in COD Ghosts, and it wouldn't be long before other teams were approaching Doug for his signature. And on the 7th of April, Doug would announce to YouTube that he had left SB and was now captain of the newly formed FaZe Black team. Around this time, things really started taking off for Doug, and he would start to take his YouTube channel much more seriously. And with a growing audience on YouTube and signing to FaZe Clan, Doug was starting to make a steady income. And it got even better, as Doug's time on FaZe Black wouldn't last long, and in July of 2014 he was promoted to the main FaZe team, now playing alongside Apathy, Dido and Parasite. In their first 2 LAN events, Doug and FaZe would place 3rd, but their next event of UMG Dallas wouldn't go so well, with the team finishing 11th, and FaZe decided the roster needed a change. So they made the decision to remove Dido from the team and replaced him with an extremely high status player, Karma. One of the best and most respected players in the game, having won COD Champs in both Black Ops 2 and COD Ghosts. Whilst the team now may have had more talent, it wasn't all good news for Doug, as him and Karma would prove to have their disagreements during practice. And during a livestream, Karma would brutally criticize Censor, claiming he was the reason why they could never win games.
Alright, Jamin, whatever, dude. I won't bother anymore then.
Yeah, you're the reason we always lose, dude.
Okay, I won't bother then.
This moment did no favour for Doug's reputation in the community. However, Doug didn't care how much Karma would roast him, so long as they performed well at events. It seemed as if the beef had been swept under the rug, as in the first LAN event for the new roster, the team would place 1st, with Doug and Karma bringing home FaZe's first ever championship. Unfortunately though, the following event see a much different result, with the team placing 8th. Following this, Karma and Parasite would leave the FaZe team, and were replaced by Aches and Slasher going into the new release of Advanced Warfare, and well, the team changes would pay off, with Doug and FaZe winning the first event of Advanced Warfare after an impressive performance against Optic in the grand finals, with Censor lighting up the stage. At this point, things were going extremely well for Doug. He'd won 2 championships in 2 months, was the captain of the main FaZe team, and was seeing great success on his YouTube channel. However, things quickly took a turn for the worse, when FaZe would promote Aches to captain ahead of Doug, and the following event saw disaster, with FaZe choking a 2-0 lead against Envy, seeing them place 16th. With Doug and Apathy paying the price, getting dropped from the team and demoted back down to FaZe Black. Doug was devastated because there was less than 2 months until the COD Champs for Advanced Warfare, and Doug felt he had very few options on who he could add to the roster, with little time for him and Apathy to practice with them. And unsurprisingly, when Champs would come along, once again with $1 million prize pool, Doug and FaZe Black would perform poorly, placing 13th. This was a dark moment for Censor, and would prove to be his last tournament he'd ever play under FaZe, and the last LAN event he'd play on Advanced Warfare. However, when one door closes, another may open. Around this time, Doug's YouTube channel was gaining significant momentum, with many viral hits, and Doug was now likely making more money from his socials than he was from tournament prize earnings. Winning championships was no easy feat. However, getting views on YouTube was becoming a walk in the park for Doug. And whilst Doug's biggest passion would always be competing, he was starting to fall in love with making content, and it seemed to be the much safer option for him financially, and his switch in focus was being instantly rewarded, with him gaining 50,000 subscribers in the space of just 1 month. But things were only just getting started, as just a week later, Doug would post a YouTube video to his channel, I'm in Love, which would prove to be the start of a completely new arc in his career. After a long night playing with other pros in Advanced Warfare, Doug was chilling in a Skype call when someone would post a picture in a group chat of a weather woman they'd seen going viral on Reddit. After seeing the image, Doug couldn't believe how beautiful she was, so he decided to search up her socials and eventually stumbled across her Twitter page, discovering her name to be Yanet Garcia. And well, Doug would shoot his shot, swiftly sliding into her DM, and surprisingly, it actually worked. And just one day after his I'm in Love video, Doug would announce to YouTube that he was flying to Mexico to meet up with Yanet. After the two started chatting through Twitter, he then disappeared from the internet for almost an entire week, as the COD community eagerly awaited news of how his trip had gone down. And on June 26th, Doug would post a clip to his YouTube showing him and Yanet hanging out in Mexico together, seemingly on a date. Viewers were in awe of Doug's courageousness, and his comments were flooded with support. Then, 4 days later, with Doug now back home in the USA, he'd drop a video titled The Craziest Experience of My Life, showcasing the entire trip and his first interactions with Yanet. This video blew up instantly with over 1.9 million views, and even more support flooded in for Doug. After all, it was a love story that was hard not to get behind. And whilst it seemed like it may just be a one-off meeting for the pair, it turns out there was actually chemistry between them, and a few weeks later, Doug would announce that Yanet was now officially his girlfriend, with her flying out to the US to spend time with him, with Doug recording every single moment of their relationship. Doug was living the dream, and would go on to post 7 vlogs of Yanet in the week she visited him, with 4 of them gaining over 1 million views. Doug was consistently pulling hundreds of thousands of views on daily content, and was now seeing over 100,000 new subscribers per month. And with the amount of money he was making in content, it almost made no sense for him to get back into competing. After all, how was he going to daily vlog or maintain a long distance relationship if he was grinding COD 8 hours a day? But with the new release of Black Ops III coming round in November 2015, Doug still couldn't get past his love for competing, and he'd call up the head powers of FaZe, begging them to let him play in Black Ops III on their competitive team. However, FaZe would quickly reject Doug's request because they felt he couldn't be fully committed to competing, as he was too busy travelling and making videos. It was hard to see how he could perform anywhere near the level of players who were grinding for 12 hours a day, with their sole goal in life being to win a COD championship. However, FaZe gave Doug a lifeline, and told him if he competed under a lesser known organisation, he was allowed to compete in Black Ops 3. So with that in mind, Doug would join the team Enigma 6 Gold, and he was quickly put up to the test at the Call of Duty World League qualifiers. However, Doug would quickly realise the effects of taking so much time away from competing, with the team placing 13th and missing out on qualification to the COD League, with Censor playing the worst Call of Duty of his career so far. Soon after this, Doug would post a video to his channel essentially announcing his retirement from Black Ops 3, and he'd bring his focus back to being a content creator and spending time with Yanet. And it was going extremely well, with him pulling tens of millions of views a month through a wide variety of content. But all of this success wasn't enough for Doug. Something was missing. And in August 2016, 8 months after his retirement, Doug would announce his return to competitive Call of Duty in hopes of competing at the Black Ops 3 Champs. His audience would respond very positively, encouraging Doug to chase his dreams. And 5 days later, Doug would compete at MLG Orlando, but the event was far from a success, with the team coming 21st and not even making it out of group play. After this, Doug decided he was going to start his own Call of Duty team and called it Next Threat, paying homage to his Black Ops 1 team. And they had just 1 week before the COD Champs qualifiers. And to little surprise to those in the competitive scene, Doug's new team would not qualify and placed 16th, seeing him missing out from competing at Champs. Following the performance, Doug would post a video to his channel titled We Lost, and the video was flooded with critical comments, such as, I can't stand how he's so upset when he's only had the team for a couple days and scrimmed for a couple days, and he expects to beat all these teams that have been grinding for months. It's just pathetic. With Censor missing out on Champs, his season was over, and in a bittersweet moment, would watch on as his former teammate Apathy, who he'd been playing alongside just 9 months ago, would go on to win at the Black Ops 3 COD Champs. However, Doug was more interested in the performance of FaZe, who finished in 7th. His biggest aspiration was still to play under FaZe competitively, and he had kept a keen eye on them all season, unimpressed that they hadn't won a single championship throughout the entirety of Black Ops 3. So Doug would call up FaZe and remind them of this stat, telling them that he wants to play in a new game, Infinite Warfare, coming out in November 2016. However, FaZe was not interested, and told Doug that they were happy with the team and he wouldn't be competing for them. Understandably, Doug was heartbroken and would end up missing out on the entirety of Infinite Warfare, seeing him become a full-time YouTuber, slowly distancing himself even further from the community, uploading generic vlog content, and in the few videos that had any relevance to competitive Call of Duty, Doug would start to see himself getting clowned in the comments for his lack of ability. However, did Doug really care? Well, maybe. As despite making huge money as a YouTuber, having his own home and a beautiful girlfriend, Censor still couldn't get his mind off of winning a Call of Duty Champs with FaZe. And all throughout Infinite Warfare, Doug was watching FaZe's performances from the sidelines, and after seeing them win 0 LAN events for the 2nd year running, Doug felt like he deserved a shot. But despite FaZe going another year without winning a single LAN event, Doug was once again rejected by the higher-ups at FaZe and was forced to create his own team going into the new release of World War II in November 2017, and was now spending thousands of dollars a month paying his players salaries, proving how badly he wanted to compete in the new game. Next Threat would finish poorly in their first event of the season. However, Doug refused to give up. He was determined on winning this year's COD Champs, and would grind all throughout the season, improving every month. And strong performances would see him transfer to Enigma 6, then to Lightning Pandas, and finally to Complexity after impressing at CWL Birmingham, where Doug finished 8th place. Now on Complexity, Doug was now playing alongside Dashi, Ricky, and Blast, and after 2 years of heartache, Doug would qualify for this year's COD Champs. Despite being fully dedicated to the game, playing on a reputable org, and in a top 15 team in the world, Doug was still seen as a meme to many in the community.
I do want to get your guys' thoughts on one tweet. This is a Censor tweet, which I found interesting.
Love Doug's tweets.
I'm going to win Champs. Is there any chance of Doug Cenor Martin winning Champs this year?
There's a chance.
Not a high one, though.
It's like 0.00001.
In fact, Doug's fellow pros doubted his ability so much, some were willing to bet tens of thousands of dollars that he wouldn't win an event.
I don't have beef with you, Doug. You're just trash.
You really think so?
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen when I win an event before you? Still gonna say I'm trash? You're gonna finally man up and give me my respect that I want?
I don't know. I bet you $10,000 you don't win an event on this game.
Bet. Book it.
Wait, Doug. You're not winning an event in this game. Is it book, Doug? 10 racks?
I'm winning Champs.
I bet 20 racks you don't win champs. 20
I'm
racks you
winning
don't win
Champs.
And to make things worse, Crim6, who's the most decorated COD pro in all history, was willing to bet $50,000 Doug wouldn't win at Champs.
50 racks on the champ Yo, with the 50K, just throw my soul in there too. I'm that confident.
Throw my soul in there.
I think you guys are sleeping hard.
However, whilst at this point, Doug was just a meme amongst the niche COD Pro community, clowning on him would soon become mainstream, as on July 2018, just a month before Champs, Censor would announce to his YouTube that his relationship with Yanet was over, and the pair had broken up after 3 years of being together. Doug's announcement would quickly amass 3 million views, and the situation would prove to become a viral meme, seeing him getting clowned by the whole of the internet and even the mainstream media, largely due to Doug stating that part of the reason they broke up was so he could focus on playing more Call of Duty. Fox News, Business Insider, Daily Mail, and the New York Post all were taking jabs at Doug. The matter became such a joke, it was even brought up to Joe Rogan on his podcast. However, Doug seemed to be relishing in the trolling, posting to his Twitter, "No, I don't want Yanet back. Please stop with the memes already. I'm a gamer, and I'm winning Champs in Black Ops 4. And well, following his breakup, Doug would then grind for the next month, until Champs came around, with an eye-watering prize pool of $1.5 million. However, it wasn't about money for Doug. He already had that. He loved the competition, and after missing out on the last 2 COD Champs, this was his moment to shine. Unfortunately though, with huge pressure on his shoulders, the team would perform pretty badly, ultimately seeing the team place 15th. Considering all the sacrifices Doug had made and the competitor he was, this was massively disappointing. This event would prove to be the final COD Champs Doug would ever play in, and the last serious LAN tournament he would feature in for the rest of his career. As going into the next Call of Duty release of Black Ops 4 in October 2018, Doug would get dropped by Complexity, and then again by his following team EG, and just 2 days after Black Ops 4's release, he would announce his retirement from Call of Duty once again. Doug was widely clowned for his retirement, but after taking some time off, he would find himself a new challenge. And in February of 2019, Doug would begin streaming consistently on Twitch, going live almost every single day for the next 8 months, with him averaging over 700 viewers per stream. But despite streaming and playing so much Black Ops 4, Doug wouldn't compete throughout the entire season and would miss out on Black Ops 4 Champs. However, he hadn't given up on his dream and would tweet, "I'm winning Champs on Modern Warfare next year." Many in the community found this statement to be utterly hilarious, if not delusional, but Doug was serious. And with the release of Modern Warfare in October 2019, Censor would leave FaZe and join the New York Subliners as a bench player, with the hopes of impressing and finding an opportunity to force himself onto the starting team. Of course, viewers and pro players alike were all skeptical of Doug's return. This was the guy who left his model girlfriend for Call of Duty and then got dropped by his team. And when posting COD gameplay to his YouTube channel, the comments were often riddled with hate. And things wouldn't get any better for Doug, as when he did play against pros on stream, he'd often perform so badly that it created viral clips of pro players laughing at just how bad he was.
Yeah. We had to go.
Oh, they hit old anyway.
7? 7?
Yeah, I think I need to just pre-aim and slow down.
7?
But I need to slow down when I get to spots I like.
Oh my god.
7?
You want me to just like smoke out their mid?
Smoke out Sam, no, right here.
This?
I just want to see where your placement is. Like, dude.
That?
Bruh. 0 seconds? Bro, you're actually not giving me anything, bro.
Yeah, that was definitely
I cannot work with that.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Doug hasn't said a word. Yo, Doug, are you furious?
I mean, not really, honestly.
You know when it was chalked? Was when I told him to smoke sandbags to see how his smoke placement was? And it landed on the side of the cliff, bro. I'm not even showing, bro. It landed on the side of the cliff.
Doug was becoming more of a meme every single day, and Doug's claims that he'd win champs in Modern Warfare would come to haunt him, as this season he'd consistently stay on the bench, not ever making it to NYSL's main team, and he didn't even partake in champs, let alone win it. He was then dropped by NYSL, and Call of Duty Cold War was released 2 months later in November 2020. During Cold War, Censor would grind the game, playing in Call of Duty challenges, and despite all the long hours, Doug was placing terribly all throughout the season and was nowhere near getting back to the big leagues. Once again, he'd miss out on champs, and by the time the next Call of Duty, Vanguard, was released in 2021, Doug had only $500 of earnings in the last year of him playing competitive COD. But that number would drastically change at the Boom TV Invitational, with Censor winning $80,000 after beating Optic Scumpie's team in the final.
Let's go, man! Come on, son! Can't beat me, Seth! I'm just a low-tier challenger player, bro! Right? That's why I'm 4-0 in the grand finals.
Doug Cenor Martin.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna want to beat Seth so bad.
Dude, yeah, he's formed like this little one-way rivalry with me. They beat us in these draft tournaments and he's talking smack. You just gotta let him be, bro. He knows what he's doing. Trying to be the villain. He literally doesn't have a shirt on. Just think of that.
Wait, hold up, wrong one.
Dude, this is. Hey, what are you doing, Doug? Doug, what are you doing? Dude, shut your mouth. Dude, shut up.
Following this, Censor would compete under a variety of teams in COD challenges until joining Boston Breach in April 2022 as a bench player for their academy team. But one thing did stay consistent, and that was Doug's terrible placements throughout the season. Around this time, a now infamous video would be published to YouTube titled Doug Cenor Martin Getting Roasted Compilation that would quickly gain a large amount of attention with over 300,000 views, and a large amount of respected COD pros reacting to the video on their stream, with everyone enjoying laughing at Doug's clownery. And it felt like every other week, there was an embarrassing clip of Doug's gameplay popping up on the timeline.
Dad, oh my god! Oh my god, Doug! Doug, no! Doug just got smoked!
Is it done?
One more on me. Get back door.
No way.
Bro, I just lost a gunny to Seth for the loss, bro. Come on, son! Seth can't gun me, bro! Can't beat me, Seth!
Bruh.
No way.
With Doug now being 28 years old, it was quickly becoming apparent that he had an extremely low chance of ever returning to the COD League, let alone winning a COD Champs. And in a period of time between the end of Vanguard and the release of Modern Warfare 2, Censor would further solidify his status as a meme in the community after getting himself involved in drama with the upcoming streamer Nadia, who was blowing up for her Call of Duty Warzone streams. Doug would convince everyone he was going to expose her for being a cheater, and with viewers edged on their seats, waiting to see his expose, Doug would create the biggest anti-climax in all of Call of Duty history, with Doug wasting everyone's time by posting what essentially was a trolling video, with the video seeing him backtrack on his statements that he would expose Nadia, and the main substance of the video being him riding a jet ski and jokingly proposing to Nadia. This ordeal would see Doug back in the eye of the mainstream, with multiple viral commentary videos roasting him, notably with Moist Critical destroying Doug to 7 million viewers in his video titled Clown Behavior. But it all would blow over eventually, and Doug began competing in Modern Warfare 2, and this season he surprisingly earned back some respect, grinding all throughout the year in challenges under Boston Academy, placing fairly well and earning $30,000 in prize earnings. However, despite the success, towards the end of MW2 season in June 2023, Doug would start to drift away from competing, setting his mind on a new obsession: breaking the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. The training was vigorous, and Doug was 100% committed to getting the world record done. And half a year into his journey, with Doug now approaching 29 years old, he'd finally made the decision in January 2024 to officially retire from competing in Call of Duty for good. Following his retirement, Doug would spend every day of his life pursuing his world record attempt, and after a year of training, Doug would announce he was finally going to go for the world record on September 7th, 2024. The date would eventually come around, and Doug would stream the entire attempt to his Twitch to thousands of viewers, with much of the COD community tuning in to give their support. And in typical Doug Cenor Martin fashion, when he sets his mind to something, he gets it done. And Doug would smash the world record, reaching 9,250 pull-ups, seeing his stream peaking at 8,000 viewers, all whilst raising a huge amount of money for a pancreatic cancer research charity. Doug would announce the record to his socials, with heaps of praise coming in from viewers and peers alike, with many notable figures in the COD scene showing their respect.
The amount of training this man must have done for the last few years to be able to do over 9,000 pull-ups is astounding. That's crazy to me. Big congratulations to him, and he was doing it all for a great cause.
Following this incredible achievement, Doug has gone back to streaming Call of Duty daily on his Twitch channel, and with the pull-up record achieved, who knows what challenge he will set his mind to next? Was he going to return to COD and try and win the champs he so deeply desired for? Well, what if he already actually had done that? As it would turn out, Censor and his championship winning team from 2011 would see recognition from the COD League for what was in fact the equivalent of a champs win before champs officially existed, with the CDL finally crediting the original Call of Duty champions from 2008 to 2011 with their own unique rings, just as every winner since Black Ops 2 has received. And 13 years after the incredible win from Next Threat at the Black Ops 1 National Championship, Doug would finally get his hands on the ring that he dreamed of for all of his career.
You know who I'm thinking of right now?
Oh, Tom.
Doug Cenor Martin, because he does it, man. When he wants something, he just does it.
If there's one person I want to talk to when I'm down bad, it's Doug Martin. Doug is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. Nothing but love for Doug. That guy, he gets memed a lot. Doug would do anything for anybody.
Bullets in his back, trying to stay alive. Censor's gonna get him.
Censor, that's a huge kill on Crim6. Time is ticking away.
The crowd chanting Doug.
3 versus 3. Time is ticking. Oh, Censor! He's just gonna kill him. But we're getting by a second. Censor, unbelievable play. Can he stay alive? FaZe jump now. FaZe win the championship. No!
I love you. I love you. I love you, Virus. I love you.